Hey everyone, it is Sean, and we are here. It is June 18th. We have a dynamic guest with us today, Mr. Pellegrino out of Cobb. He's going to be joining us here in a few seconds, so stay tuned as we get ready to talk about gun violence here in America. Y'all, people are dying because they're waiting on us. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hey everyone, we are back and we have Mr. Pellegrino with us. And am I just correct me if I'm wrong? Am I saying it the correct way?
Yes, that's perfect, but you can call me Rich.
Even better. So we have Mr. Rich on the line. And Mr. Rich, so we were talking earlier today. You wrote one of the most dynamic pieces of opinions that I have seen when it comes down to the issues we've been having with gun violence. So explain to me, like, what motivated you to do that? Of course, I mean, most of it we know, but just explain to people what motivated you to do that and what was your point in trying to do it.
Well, I mean, obviously, everybody, Sean, has been, anyone who's human, who has a heart, has been moved, sadly, and some angrily, over the past few weeks, as the latest mass shootings in Buffalo, in Uvalde, and Tulsa were highlighted, although we all know that these have been ongoing for months and years. So, I mean, you just reach a tipping point. You just reach a point where you have to say enough is enough. The country and the world did so with George Floyd, even though many of those incidents happened previously, where, almost symbolically or literally, the knee has been on the neck of the African American and minority community for decades, ever since I've been around. But that was a tipping point, and hopefully we started to see some legislation watered down, addressing that. So the same thing with gun violence, the same thing with mass shootings, gun control, gun safety. This has been going on ever since I was old enough to talk, and that's a long time ago. And so, and actually, when I grew up in the '70s, um, you know, the only people that had automatic weapons were the organized crime and law enforcement. um, uh, you know, I was and this is another story, but I was a drug dealer in Harlem as a youth, right? In Harlem, in the hood, okay? That's my first life. And I never saw a gun. I mean, I dealt with drugs with every level of society, even the mafia. I never saw a gun. Maybe I saw a knife. There were plenty of guns, but they were not proliferated like they are now, number one. Number two, there was not a concentrated effort by the gun lobby or gun manufacturers to instill fear of the other through every media and medium as there is today. Because we know from the research that the use of guns for sport and hunting has gone way down. And so, in a capitalist, profit-oriented society where guns are looked at as a profit center, the sale of guns, they look for another way to increase their sales, just like tobacco. Uh, and so what they did was put their money into, instilling the fear of the other, immigrants, LGBTQ, the black community, Black Lives Matter, every boogeyman you can imagine. You turn on the news and it's there. And that's not by accident, because our media, except for the independent media, is funded by those companies, and as are the politicians. So anyway, this was a tipping point for me where I said enough is enough. If we can't sleep If we can't rest, the saying when we march, no justice, no peace. If we can't have peace, you know, in our schools, um, in our supermarkets, anywhere we go, in our movie theaters, then the legislators and the gun manufacturers who are blocking sensible gun control and gun safety will not have peace. We need to bring it to them, to their homes if necessary. And that did catch the attention of law enforcement, by the way, that article.
It's crazy because I just literally, as we are sitting here, I just left from Ambassador Young's office, and we had a conversation with him. And the last part of the conversation, he made a statement that really kind of chilled me. He said, "I'm scared for America. I'm scared for America and the future of America." And I got what he was saying, right? It wasn't saying that we haven't made a lot of progress up to this point, but the reality is that as much progress as we thought we made, America's exposing that we really haven't come that far. Because we know we have things like systemic racism. I mean, now you have African Americans, the places that we traditionally we felt safe. The church, we no longer feel safe. The grocery store, we no longer feel safe. Schools, we no longer feel safe. And I know for you, it becomes personal too because you have come from a family that has a mixed background, right? Um,
Correct.
and I don't know, like, what do you think will be the solution? Because I know that as you know, the Senate has come to an agreement, quote unquote. We haven't seen the full language of it. I was happy. I was disappointed. I thought it would go a little further. I know it wasn't going to go to the extreme of what we wanted it to be, but I thought it would go a little bit further to at least change the age of when you can buy an assault rifle, so from 18 to 21. To at least not put it back on the states to pass red flag laws, but the federal government doing it. But as you see
Right.
in the agreement they have, they're going to put it back on states. In places like Georgia, I don't know what a red flag law would look like with the leadership we have here.
Right.
What are
Right.
some of the things that you wish you would have seen come out of this whole? I don't much know what to call it. This proposal that they're getting ready to put out in the next couple of weeks.
Well, as you mentioned, we want to see the reinstatement of a ban on assault weapons.
Absolutely,
I
I agree
mean,
with you on that part.
assault. What is assault? I mean, who has a right to assault anyone? That's a felony. In most cases, you have misdemeanor assaults too, but that's a felony. Why would we need to assault? Okay, I mean the very nature of the weapon. So that needs to be banned, reinstated. It was, and there were less mass killings. So I mean,
2004.
the thing I love about the youth, and I am encouraged, and I understand Ambassador Young, but I am encouraged by the youth, by the young people, because you know we've been at this for quite a while, and it's easy to get discouraged. But the young people are into it fresh. They're bringing fresh perspectives, and young people are well, the motto of March for Our Lives is we call out the BS. We call the BS. Okay? That's it. I mean, if it's BS, call it what it is. Okay? So we don't need assault weapons. The many gun owners that came to our rally, uh, hobbyists, veterans, Marines, gun owners who are not anti-gun all came with one voice. We do not need assault weapons on the streets of America, period, anywhere. Okay, so that's to me a no compromise issue. It is, to me, it is a good sign that there was some bipartisan agreement on even the watered down resolutions that they've come up with. Because what the gun lobby fears, and I agree with them, except on the positive side is once you open the door for some gun control and other gun safety, then the rest will follow. Look what happened with tobacco. Anything that's a danger to society with seatbelts, you know, when we learned about the danger of driving in cars, without seatbelts and so forth. The door opened a little and then it opened wider and wider and wider. But that's on us. That's on the people now. Once they've come to some agreement, we have to push. What is this, black push, right? We
Mhm.
have to come and push and make sure that we don't sit back. And the state level, all politics is local. Yeah, we'd love the feds to do more, But let's face it, it's a pay to play federal system. The lobby funds all the politicians on both sides, the gun lobby. So I think we have an opportunity here in Georgia to go to the legislators, sit down with them. If they don't budge, go to their homes, protest, you know, make sure their whole family and their kids know what's going on. And and lastly, boycott the places that sell assault rifles. Okay, I think what was it? Walmart pulled them the last year, go around. So let's go to where people make their money.
And the one thing that one other, I know that we talked about red flag laws earlier today. They was talking about the ban on assault rifles, and I think it looks like they're not even going to raise the age on it, from what I understand and what I read in the text. They thought they would do expensive background checks, but red flag laws. I'm a Georgian now. I've been here 9 years. You're a Georgian probably way longer than me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable with the state of Georgia trying to figure out how to do a red flag law. How do you feel about it? I really think the federal government should have stepped in and did something to help, because we talk about the state of Georgia, but people don't understand. Like, state of Georgia minimum wage is, I think, $5.25 an hour. The only reason why it's $7.25 and they get $7.25 is because federal supersedes state. We need the federal government to do more. And actually, we were just on a call this morning with DHS where I made it clear to them, not only do we need you to do more, I don't need your money, I need your feet on the ground. And we hope to bring them to Atlanta. It looks like they are going to be planning to come here. But what are some of the things that you feel like as a community, right? As a community, we can do to make impact on this type of issue, gun violence, in our own personal communities?
Well, I don't know if you're aware, if I've told you before, I was part of a group called Street Groomers, which were citizen patrols, ex-gang members who patrolled their own neighborhoods. Before that, we had the Guardian Angels in New York and around the country. What we need to do, the concept is not vigilante groups like George, Zimmer, like Florida and Trayvon Martin and that kind of organization, but people from the community taking control of their own community. I marched and I patrolled all of the hoods in Atlanta unarmed. Our whole group was unarmed. We didn't need any arms. Even the gangs respected us because they know what's going on the streets. And so people will work together. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody. The reason why people join gangs is because they feel attacked. That's their family. Okay, so we have to stop demonizing the people who are on the streets, the people who are in our communities, and work together. I just said I come from a drug dealing background. I would be in prison, or if I wasn't white. All of the times I got arrested and felonies I had against me, I had white and blue privilege because my father was a cop. So we can't judge anybody where they're at right now. We have to work together. The other thing is, in terms of red flag laws, the reason why I laugh is we know right now that you're a red flag, right? Because of the color of your skin, immediately, right? If you're black and a male, that's a red flag. You could be a professional, NBA player or whatever, or a pastor. So we're going to have to really monitor that because we don't want Karens all over the place, pointing fingers at people and pointing red flags because, it's easy for me to be anti-gun. Even in my own family, I'm a pacifist. I'm anti-gun, period, right? But my sons, who look more like you, they have to go in Atlanta and everything. They have their handguns and so forth. You know what I'm saying? So within the same family, again, we have to respect roles,
right,
and where we're coming from. We need a warrior class. Every culture has a warrior class. I'm not it. I'm a pacifist. I don't kill bugs. Okay? But my sons are the warrior class. The police have to balance between being a warrior and servant class, and that's a very difficult balance, as we've seen, and that's what we're trying to help them learn. But outside of that, the Black Panthers are a perfect example. They were they were a warrior group for the black community. They fed the black community. They were for defense. The Black Panthers for defense. That's what the Constitution talks about. Well-regulated militia. Okay, that's where guns belong, in a well-regulated militia. The Deacons for Defense were another. So we have examples of what to do and how to control this, but it's up to the communities taking control of themselves. That's what we're doing here in Cobb. You know.
Yeah, and one of the things that I will have to say thoroughly that I appreciate about even meeting with you last year is your just sense of like the fact that it's not just one person. I heard Ambassador Young say this today. Not one organization is going to make the changes that America needs. It's going to take all of us.
Right.
And I appreciate your candidness and your effort or your ability to bring organizations together, because you brought together a few organizations over the past weekend or the past week to meet about. And the funny part about it, what I love too, is that like March for Our Lives is started by a whole nother group. It's not your group. It's not my group. But we're able to partner together and say, hey, it's not about who's on the front of the flyer. It's about the mission of it. Um,
Exactly.
and in ending, what would be your advice to people who are out there, community leaders who are out there right now, and those young folks who are out there right now? What would be your advice to them?
My advice is one that I'll pass on from one of my mentors, Dr. Ben Williams, president of SCLC COP,
I
um,
love Mr. Williams.
and a devotee of Dr. King's method, which I'm still learning. But that is, the strength of the wolf is in the pack. That's what he always tells me and tells everybody. It, Join, just like what you said, join one of the organizations. You've got March for Our Lives, Sandy Hook Farmers, the Brady organization. You've got local
Man
black,
actions. I
yeah,
mean, yeah,
yeah, Moms Demand Action, the, SCLC, NAACP, all, you don't have to join all of them. Join one, but push for coalitions. That's what I do. I'm a coalition builder, okay? Because even the lone wolf organization, as you said, can't do it. We have to all work together. The strength of America, the exceptionalism of America is its diversity, okay? What we are learning, what we are the experiment and example in the world is how to achieve unity and diversity, because we're the most diverse nation on earth.
right.
That's what I believe God ordained us as, to the example of the coming together of all of the peoples of all of God's children. And so we have to model that in our lives, in our individual lives, of coming together with organizations and other people are working together, and less judging. We can't judge, because by the grace of God there goes I. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. you know we're all victims and advocates at the same time. And that's why I adopted the nickname, or was given to me, the equalizer. Anybody try to exalt themselves above another, I equalize them, because we're all human.
Man, I love it. And I love the fact that you talk about collaboration, because that's what Black Push has been doing over the last 4 years. It's literally collaborating with everybody around. So appreciate you coming on today, man. And I mean, if you do not know, if you need Black Push, we're there. As long as time, trying to scheduling conflicts, but we
Mm-hmm.
want to support, and we are definitely there to work together, because I'm a Cobb County resident like yourself.
Right.
So, I mean, we're there to work together, and I appreciate your time and I appreciate your passion towards this. For those who are watching, I just wanted to remind you guys we have Mr. Rich Pellegrino on, aka the Equalizer. And if you have not had a chance to read his article, please, please, where could they find your article at if they wanted to read it?
On Facebook,
Okay.
you just look me up on the Facebook. Okay.
Okay, absolutely. And what we'll do is we'll actually find that article and we'll post a link to this podcast, so we
Okay.
have it. That way people can actually read the article. But I wanted to also remind people that Black Push is still not done. We have a busy rest of the month. We will be in Macon on June 25th for our fifth One Accord conference. And we have 8 dynamic speakers who will be joining us there. And we'll also be following up by July 15th, I think is the date, Ali. Am I right? The gala, July 15th. We have a Black Push inaugural gala. It's an evening of service where we're honoring people like Zanona Clayton, Ambassador Young, Helen Butler, Latasha Brown, um, Give me some more names. A whole bunch of people. Shannon Jones, Reverend Timothy McDonald, Bishop Jackson of AME Church. And we're getting ready to honor all of them on July 15th. So if you have not done so, go to www.blackpush.org for more information on that. And let's continue to stay out in the fight. And for those who are in Georgia, today's the 18th. That means that we are voting on next Tuesday. We need everybody to get out and vote if you have not already done so. And if you have done so, find 5 other friends that you can take to the poll with you and tell them that they have to get out and vote. June 21st is a runoff, but it's just as powerful and just as important. Thank you again, Mr. Rich, and you guys have a blessed day and stay safe.
To have to speak truth to power.
If we live by what his word says, we're not going to go wrong.
Every human being deserves equal treatment.
If you don't know Vincent's name in your own community, don't call George's name.
Where is the church today?
One is a church, one is a package store. Which one is the greater influence?
We've got to put our foot down and say, as for me and my house, not only will we serve the Lord, but we'll look like him.
One accord is what we need.
Stand up for all of God's children and let's be on one accord.
The thing about unity with God is that it doesn't come without unity with other people.
May the God in all of us stand with those who are the most vulnerable.
I believe the opportunity to be on one accord is opportunity. When am I going to stop? I'm going to stop when there's no more homeless people. When am I going to stop? I'm going to stop when people no longer have to be afraid to go into a ballot place and cast their ballot. When my white brothers and sisters don't have to eat from Dollar General and that's where they get their only meal from.